And if you do like that thing and you grab onto that thing and now you leverage that specific task or that specific thing, whether that's, maybe you're just good at talking to people, or maybe you're good at one specific task. And you'll be surprised how far along that will get you. Just by being good at one thing can open up the doors to so many different things.
And welcome to another episode of Reno's Rants here on the Roughnecks Podcast. Make sure to stay up to date with everything we got going on by signing up for the newsletter that is on roughneckspodcast.com. Sign up for that, stay up to date, and hey, while you're there, go ahead and support us. Grab some merch while it's there. We got a lot of cool stuff, from t-shirts to mugs to flags to pretty much anything that you can think of. And I tell you what, use promo code Reno and get yourself 10% off. All right, let's dive into today's rant.
Yo, welcome to another episode of Reno's Rants on, of course, the Roughneck Podcast. You heard the intro. You know what's up. Reno's Rants. Here we go with yet another episode. On today's episode, we're going to simply talk about these three words, and it's commit or quit. Commit or quit. So, and what I mean by this is, hey man, if you're doing something that you don't necessarily like doing, and this more reference to like your day-to-day job, say that you don't really like your job, right? And like my challenge to you is to commit to it. Okay, even though that you don't want to be there, even though it's something that you might not necessarily be that interested in, try and commit to the work that you're doing. Try to commit to the people that you're around, to the company that you're with, because you might end up actually liking it. You might end up actually liking a few things that you're doing. And because if you go into work every day and you just got a really shitty attitude all the time, like that does you no good. That does your job no good. That does your company no good. Like, they're not going to treat you. I mean, honestly, they're not going to treat you as well. There's no room for progression. You're just leaving yourself out there to try. Okay? Whereas if you do go to commit to something, all right, like I said, you might find something you like. And if you do like that thing and you grab onto that thing and now you leverage that specific task or that specific thing, whether that's, maybe you're just good at talking to people, or maybe you're good at one specific task, and you'll be surprised how far along that will get you. Just by being good at one thing can open up the doors to so many different things. And now I say commit or quit kind of lightly, because you're going to have bad days. You're absolutely going to have bad days where you're like, I hate this. I want to quit immediately. And like, I'm not saying just like go out there and just quit, right? Like, don't make sure you have at least a fallback plan, and that's a whole nother different conversation. Kind of have a fallback plan. Like, it goes back to commit or quit. You have to be fully committed to what you're doing. And by committing yourself to it, it also gives you like a sense of pride. It gives you a sense of, wanting to go into work or wanting to go do that thing, because you feel more inclined to do it. You feel like you actually have a purpose behind the stuff that you're doing, instead of going and doing the same thing over and over and over again. Whereas if you look at it, you commit to it and be like, you know what? I am sick of doing this. Here's my idea on how I think I'm going to change that. And because if you just go to somebody and say, oh, this sucks, I hate doing this. This sucks. That does nobody any good. No good. All that is you just bitching. Like that's all that is you bitching. How about like you bitch, but come up with a solution to that? That's a much easier conversation to have, to provide a solution to it, like a reasonable solution, and not just like, oh, that's not my job to, make those decisions and determine, what's next. That's like, no, like you as the employee, your feedback is way, way more important than people above you even. Because I tell this to my employees all the time. I'm not in the weeds of a lot of things. I'm not in the weeds of a lot of things. So therefore, why would I make the decision on what you're about to do when I'm not doing it? That's why I need your feedback. That's why it's so important. And then we get the ones who come in and say, oh, well, I don't like this. I don't like this. And my question to them is, what's your solution to it? Help me help you. You know what I'm saying? So look for those ways to innovate. Look, try it and be creative. You never know what can happen because your one idea can absolutely take off and explode. I forget what company this was or exactly what the thing was. And this guy, he was just a normal employee. And it had something to do with some like adhesive, I guess. I think that's what it is. I might be completely butchering this, but you'll get the point. But like, it was like an adhesive company, and an employee said, "Hey, instead of using this, like, what if we used, this different type of stuff because it adds this, 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 and this?" They're like, "Huh, that's a really good idea coming from the bottom line." And they ran it all the way up to the top. And guess what? That guy who suggested that, that product, that enhancement, that innovation to what they're currently doing completely changed their entire company, made them millions and millions and millions of dollars. I think it was 3M, if I'm not mistaken, that company. And they exploded because of a bottom, I don't want to say bottom line as like it's a bad thing, but like a new hire or somebody who's kind of at that entry level because they came up with an idea. Express yourself, commit to what you're doing, because we are all so creative. Even if you don't think you're a creative person, you think differently than everybody else. Nobody else thinks exactly like you. We all have all sorts of different ideas running through our brains at all times. At all times. And what's crazy is only we know us. Only we know the true way that we think. And if you can express that a little bit to somebody else and spread a little bit of your knowledge to things and give a different perspective on stuff and commit to things that you didn't really want to commit to, who knows what can happen? What's like, if you're in that situation where you don't like what you're doing, what's the worst thing that can happen if you commit to it? The worst thing that could happen, you still don't enjoy your job. So nothing changes. But what's the best thing that can happen? You can completely change an industry. You can completely change the way you look at your job. You can completely change the way that you look at a relationship at your sport. It can totally change things if you commit to it. All right. And if you commit to it, sometimes it just doesn't work out. Like, it is just not meant for you. And if you come to a realization that that is the thing, okay, it's time to move on now. Quit wasting your time committing to something that you figured out is not you. It's not going to work. Quit wasting your time. Quit wasting the time of other people. Okay, commit your time to what you want to do. Quit wasting your time. You got to take the next step to figure out what you want to do. You've got to, and you got to take risks. You got to take risks in order to figure it out. It sucks. It's scary. It's nerve-wracking. You don't really know what's going to happen, but you have to do it. Because if you don't do it, you don't know what's going to happen. Whereas if you do something, you do decide to, make a change. You do decide to quit whatever you're doing and focus all of your attention back on something new. Who knows? Who knows? But you'll never find out unless you do it. Right? What's the saying? You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So sometimes you got to take a shot, but make sure you commit to something first. Try to commit to it. See what happens. And don't make it just like a day. One day I'm going to commit to this. Like, today's the day that I'm going to give it my all. Like, give it time. Commit to it and give it time. Don't expect immediate results. I know we're kind of in a culture. We love having immediate results. We love, having, thinking of something and want to be promoted immediately and want to have the best, whatever it is, immediately. Like, things take time. Things take time, but being consistent with it, being committed to it, it's all a process. It's all one big puzzle. So my challenge And sort of my thought process to everybody is the commit or quit. Okay, but give the commitment a try first. And don't rely on pure emotions all the time, or because you'll be quitting everything. You've got to, challenge yourself a bit. You got to see what's going to take place if you do truly commit to this, and you might just end up liking it. You might just end up liking it because at the end of the day, some of us, the job that we don't like to have, you know what? We need that job. We need it. You have to come back the next day. You have to. You have no other choice. So why not try and commit to it, because you might just end up liking it. Anyway, that is going to be my rant for today. Commit or quit. Give it a try. See what happens. But until next time, you guys know the deal. roughneckspodcast.com. Check out the merch. Sign up for the newsletter. All the above. Hit us up on social media. We are here to answer your questions. We're here to bring up any topics that you want. Until next time.
Hey, thanks for tuning into today's episode of Reno's Rants here on the Roughnecks Podcast. Make sure to share, follow us on all your favorite social media platforms. And if you have topics that you want us to cover, make sure to get those to us. You can either email us at roughneckspodcast@gmail.com, or you can just simply message us on Facebook, on Instagram, whatever you feel like doing. We will be sure to cover that. Really appreciate all the support you guys are giving us. Until next time.